Hello and welcome to our webinar on solving supply chain uncertainty in 2025. My name's Bart De Muynck. I'm an advisor and an industry expert. I've been in this industry for over 30 years. Now, let's face it, uncertainty has become a constant in the supply chain world, and we see disruptions surround us on all sides. We've seen recently tariff increases, labor shortages, weather disruptions, evolving customer demands. There's pressure literally from every direction. And with so many moving parts, even a minor delay in one area of the supply chain can cause ripple effects across the entire operation. Now, that is where location intelligence emerges as a critical tool, providing the real-time insights that's needed to navigate uncertainty and maintain that much needed operational continuity. Now, to discuss this, I have two special guests with me today, Cami Zimmer and Chris Ruff. Cami and Chris, welcome.
Thank you.
Now, can you briefly introduce yourself to our audience? Maybe tell us a little bit about your background, your current role, and mention one thing in supply chain that really intrigues you. Cami, let's start with you.
Great. Thank you, Bart. Yes, I am the Chief Business Officer here at Glympse. I've been here for 7.5 years and really intrigued by the supply chain industry and logistics industry because there are so many new technologies that are coming out that are much needed in this industry. And as we've been focused the last 2 years on this industry, it's been very fun to be able to work with companies and actually make a difference in their operational efficiencies and their safeties. And it's been real fun for us.
Yeah, supply chains definitely has come to the forefront. Just this week, I was at the gym we share, Cami, the Lifetime Gym, and someone said, "Hey, Bart, aren't you in supply chain?" I said, "Yes." And I said, "With all these tariffs, don't you have a lot of work?" Now, I will say that obviously supply chain has been exposed to a lot of different things, starting with COVID, where that all escalated. So none of us have been short of work, and we've been busy trying to support the industry and solving a lot of those issues. Chris, how about you? What's your current role? What's your background? And the one thing that intrigues you in supply chain?
Thanks, Bart. Yeah, I'm Chris Ruff. I'm the CEO of Glympse. I've been in the wireless industry almost my entire life. Started way back in the earliest programmable phones that were the predecessor to the smartphones we know and love today. Along the way, did some work in the connected car world, which is all of these technologies that I've been a part of are all now in the forefront as we think about where we're at today with supply chain, but more importantly, the innovation that has to come to the industry to improve it. I think the most interesting part of supply chain for me is, though we've come so far, there's still so much more we can do. The fact that there isn't true tracking and visibility, and there's large periods of time where you don't know where things are, whether it's in the middle of the ocean or worse yet, on a dock somewhere, just misplaced. So there's so much more we can do to innovate. Times have never been better to do that with the evolution of tariffs and all of these things, and also just the tight labor markets, right? Even though we have all this needs to get done, finding people who want to take it up as a career are also there's headwinds with it right now. So all of that makes for an unbelievably cool set of problems and challenges to solve.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I started in supply chain in the 90s, and we started doing kind of like telematics, right? In the late
Yep.
90s back in Europe. Data was very scarce because back then it was all satellite communication, which was incredibly expensive. We didn't have all the terrestrial networks. We didn't have things like 5G we have today. So data was hard to come by. But now we have all that data. It's also still, how do we really get insights out of data? How do we make right decisions? How do we share the data with all the different stakeholders in the supply chain? So let's dive a little bit deeper into it. So, Chris, talking about all these different disruptions, how do you really see this impacting companies? I know, for example, you guys have several steel companies as customers, and obviously, one of the first tariffs that hit was steel and aluminum, that extra 25% tariff. So, just not tariffs, but in general, how do you see it impacting customers and other companies out there?
Yeah, I mean, you bring up a good point. I mean, tariffs are not negative concept per se, right? There are industries where we are disadvantaged to compete in based on the things other countries do, and steel is one of those places, right? In this way, I think tariffs are going to benefit the U.S. steel market considerably because there's been proven there's a lot of dumping of product going through Mexico and other places into the United States. But tariffs globally, right, are and universally, including traditional trading partners that have had very, very small tariffs, is just going to make everything a lot more expensive, which actually means controlling the supply chain is going to be more important than ever, right? Because you don't want shortages, but you also don't want surplus inventories. You want to try to keep those costs as small as possible, especially while the whole idea of these tariffs are working through the market. You don't want to build inventory during this time, but you still need to serve your customers, and you want to get it the cheapest prices you can get them. And it's just going to make for a complex operating environment for everyone. I think this year is going to be interesting just because of all the uncertainty. I think we'll see businesses looking for really high value innovations they can bring in at low cost and speed to market. And the cool thing is things like location-based technologies. These are things that can be put in place really quickly with an incredibly high ROI. And you don't need to innovate your ERP system or your digitally transform your whole world. You can just put some key pieces of technology together to give you incredibly more fine-tuned visibility into what's going on in your supply chain network.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, great insights, Chris. Now, Cami, as companies are looking to move from kind of more reactive to proactive approach, right? So tracking and visibility, it's not the tracking and visibility of your grandma, so to speak, right? It's this new way of looking at it, where we're trying to give everyone really from internal teams all the way to the end customers access to the same data, same real-time view of what's happening. How is Glympse tackling that?
Yeah. So Chris called it visibility, and having met everyone at the Manifest event months ago, and over the last year or so, visibility gets used a lot, and I think it gets overused. So what does that mean? I jokingly here, and maybe with all of us on this call, I jokingly call it a rendezvous approach. And I don't know if that's necessarily what we want to call it, but we call it a multi-party collaboration approach, right? It's the same type of a word. It's kind of that real-time location intelligence platform that we have. And what makes us a little bit different is we're taking what we've learned over the last 10 years in various other different industries and bringing that multi-party collaboration approach to the supply chain industry to connect the dots with people, assets, operations, end customers, your current customers as it may be a TMS, and delivering that shared real-time update approach that is easy to access and simple to act upon. And that's kind of the way that we see it here at Glympse is providing and doing what we've done in the field service industry, taking it to this unique level here in the supply chain and logistics industry as well too. So like you said, going beyond that simple tracking, going on beyond that going in that more of a proactive approach to it, to put the insights to your operations.
Yeah, Chris, Cami mentioned the word multi-party collaboration, which I think is oh so important in supply chain because we still see that typically data is available, but it's kind of stuck in different pockets. Can you talk to us a little bit more about what that multi-party collaboration, what that is, and what the benefits are?
So yeah, as you mentioned, I think a few minutes ago, there's plenty of data. The real problem right now with tracking and visibility is all of the systems are siloed, right? If you look through the entire supply chain world, whether it's the people moving the goods around, companies receiving them, companies selling products, you start adding it all up, everybody has a small view of their section, but there isn't any way to see the entire big picture. And there really isn't any way to securely and safely share that information between people. Glympse has a history in this that dates back to the consumer app that we were founded based on, where one of the key features of that was something we call tags. It's really multi-person visibility where everybody can be sharing at once. And so we've got a platform that allows for the ingestion of all these unique pieces of data coming into the system. And then we can package that up and share it to users who should have access to that data in a real simple, straightforward way. Because there's plenty of data, lots of telematics, lots of out there, but pulling it together into a single view and a single set of data that everybody can create action around and visibility around is really critical. And we have a very unique and very scalable approach to doing it.
Yeah, I think you bring up a really good point. And when I was kind of writing about visibility when I was at Gartner, right? And I said, it's kind of crazy because these are things that start on the consumer side. You mentioned Glympse started on the consumer side. Same thing with visibility. It started with Amazon, right? Where you could have visibility to a $10 book being delivered, and you know where it was at any time when it was going to be delivered. But you could have a truckload worth millions of dollars. You had no clue where that truck was after it left the site. But it's the same from this perspective, where on that multi-party, where for years now we've had, if you had an iPhone, where you can share your location with people, and you know where your family is or the people that are close to you. You know exactly where they are, how far they are from you, if they're going to you or going away from you. Yet in supply chain, where it's so important that all of those different elements, from the warehouse to transportation to the yard to sometimes manufacturing for inbound goods, are also closely linked in, and we have no clue how they're all tying together. Now, I think, Cami, you guys have a lot of experience from a wide range of industry. How does that really apply to what you guys are doing today in supply chain?
Yeah, so actually, you're exactly right. Glimpse has been around for 17 years now, 10 or 11 based on the enterprise side of things, in field service, in retail, in all kinds of different things, healthcare. What we've learned from those industries, and we have like a delivery solution, and we have a curbside pickup solution that we're doing with Crate and Barrel. We're taking that and being brought into some of these heavy industries, and then also into the supply chain logistics, hearing more and more from TMSs, hearing more from yard management solution systems, and all of these different areas where we have the capability to use our APIs or use our platform. And that's something that we've been set up within the field service and the retail services as well too. We have integrations done with Microsoft, Salesforce, Oracle, Verizon Connect, all of these different things. That this type of way of working together with the TMS is just what our platform was set up to do. And taking all that we've learned over the last decade, a little bit more, and providing it into the solutions that we know have worked and maybe haven't worked in some type of industries as well too, and taking that experience and being the experts at this is actually been key. And we've seen, even just in 2025, the amount of inbound inquiries and or discussions that people want to have has been actually kind of fun for us, because we actually can provide that leadership with the last decade of knowing what we're doing in other industries.
Yeah, I agree with you, right? And a lot of these industries they're different, but I think a lot of the processes of how they work internally and some of the data they need to share, as well as the data they need to share between different companies, whether it's a supplier and a customer, or retailer and a consumer, or a provider of services and their consumer or customer, they're very similar. I think everyone kind of agrees that they're struggling with that. So, Chris, where do you see Glimpse going in kind of next few years, like 2025, and looking forward to 2026?
Yeah, so we're at a it feels like the industries we've been in are always at another crossroads of somewhere or another. What we've tried to do as a company is to keep it simple, stupid, right? So we don't go too far outside of what Glimpse is great at. We are great at tracking things. We are great at creating multi-party and single-party visibility. We have a high amount of scale. The biggest thing that our history with these other enterprise customers has also given us is we're a very secure platform. We're audited for security and privacy every year, because we've had to play in very big industries with big cable companies and people like Dell Technologies. So we've had to punch way above our weight, and by staying focused and on these things, it's allowed us to be a really, really successful company. You get to work with nimble company and acts like a startup, but has experience over 17 years of delivering great value. So lots more of what we're doing right now on our tech side. We're working on creating the platform even more, making it easier to integrate to it, so that we can get people up and running. In the engineering world, we call it a sprint. It's 2 weeks, right? So people ought to be able to get Glympse up and running to solve their problems in 2 weeks. And that's kind of the mission here, so that we're creating this unbelievably flexible but focused technology that can be onboarded quickly, because that's what I think the market needs. We're not in an environment today where big projects are going to get funded. We're in an environment where you can get huge wins and huge ROI by doing small things really well. And that's where we're going to focus.
I couldn't agree more with you there, Chris. Now, something you mentioned, and I'll ask the last question to Cami, was that you guys are very focused on what you're doing, but that also means you're partnered with an ecosystem of other providers. I think Cami, you already mentioned TMS. How's that approach? How should we see Glimpse? You're not the end all to all problems within the supply chain, but you're very open through APIs to be able to easily connect with the systems companies are already using. Is that correct? And how do you approach that from a Glimpse perspective?
Yeah, definitely a partnership approach. And I know people use the word just like they use visibility, just throw it out there. They use partnership, that they throw that out there. But we take strategic partnerships very seriously here. When we do that, that's kind of the way we're looking at this right now, and the way that we're acting as strategic partnerships. It's a win-win-win. So I think it's a three-legged win where the TMS wins because they're able to work with someone like us, and that again, that's the way we've been set up, and that's what we've been doing for the last 11 years on the enterprise side, is a partnership approach to it. So we're able to provide, like Chris said, stay in our lane and provide what they need from us, and they get to have that ability to win with their customers, because we're not going to be that type of a partner what's going out to their customers and saying, hey, this is us, this is us. It's very much of a win-win partnership together, with us working directly with the TMS for their end customers, if that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense. And I fully agree that visibility is key in supply chains. I actually saw a report coming out from Maersk this week where they did a large survey, and visibility still came out number one main priority for a lot of companies in supply chain, showing the importance of that data and how it can drive supply chains. And so it's really important for companies to embrace visibility as well as kind of collaborating around the data, right? Not just, hey, here's the data, but provide a platform that allows companies to collaborate around the data, because if companies do that, it provides a much more efficient and competitive supply chain. Now, this truly was a great conversation. I really enjoyed talking to both of you, so Cami and Chris. Thank you for your insights. Cami, if people want to know more about Glimpse, where
Mhm.
can they go?
Yeah. You know what? We are at, I'm trying to put this up here. We are at a couple of events that are coming up, and then we obviously have our website here. It is corp.glimpse.com. We have quite a few information on there. We've got our APIs that are listed on there, and we're actually going to be at these three upcoming events just in the next month and a half. So we would love to hear from you. We would love to see if you're going to be at that event. Please reach out to us.
Very good. We're going to put this on social media. So if people have any questions, they can obviously go to the website. They can meet you at any of these three events. And obviously, they can always contact us through social media or post their comments. So I want to thank you again. We'll see you on our next webinar.